Hello and welcome to my channel. It's Friday here in Malaysia, Friday evening, and I just got home from work, and I thought today was a fairly good hair day for me, and let's just have a random video. And I thought of maybe to just make this video a tag video, the self-aware reader tag. But before that, let me just say, when I got home this evening, I got book mail, and I got two books. Both of them were used books. The first one that I got was Daughter of Fortune by Isabel Allende. This book was originally in Spanish, and it was translated into English by Margaret Sayers Bedin. I like Allende's writing, although I do think that her more recent stuff, they seem to fit the mold of contemporary fiction more, as opposed to more literary kind of stuff, unlike Eva Luna, The House of the Spirits. But in any case, I still read them. I think the last one that I read was The Japanese Lover, which was nice. I was expecting more magical realism, but it only happened like some, at the end of the book, which was I wouldn't say disappointing, but yeah, it was less than what I expected, but it was okay. And the second book that I got was Zadie Smith on Beauty. Now, I did say that I did not like White Teeth before, and yeah, I still don't really like White Teeth. I'm not sure if I'm going to get into it anytime soon. But then one of the things that I want to do this year is actually to read as many as possible, if not all, Women's Prize winners. And On Beauty, I think, won the prize, if I'm not mistaken. Can't remember which year, but yeah, it is kind of like one of my goals, unofficial goals, because it's a fairly expensive ambition, if you ask me. So I'm just gonna depend on used books or library books, but I've not been to the library for a while now. But anyway, back to the tag video, self-aware reader tag. I was tagged by Jyotsna from Jyotsna's Bookscapades, and also Kim from Middle of the Book March, and I thought, let's just have some fun with some tag questions. So the first one is, what most draws you into a novel or story and makes you want to keep reading? Plot, characters, writing style, atmosphere, something else? And for me, it's certainly the writing style. What I like about writing style usually is I look for writing style that are compassionate. That is one of the most important characteristics in writing that I'm looking for, because I don't mind really reading about reading writings that are judgmental, but I like it when something is being offered to me, when the topic is being offered to me in a tone that is somewhat full of compassion, and not so much judgment, because it kind of gives me the room, and it's as if the narrator or the persona is kind of trying to say something to me and suggest that, you know what, you're reading this, so why don't you formulate your own thoughts about it without me really suggesting what to think about it. And that's what I really appreciate. It's like the narrator thinks that I'm smart enough to think about the topic, to develop my own opinion about the topic, and to just let that be an open question, which is what everyone loves feeling smart, right? Yeah, so compassionate writings kind of feeds into my ego a little bit. So yeah, writing style is really important. I also like writing style that is funny and humorous, although not all of them has to be humorous. Some books would be weird if they are humorous. I like them when they are witty, have bits of sarcasm also. But yes, compassionate writing is what I really look forward to in a reading. So the second one, what is a convention or trope that will immediately turn you off in your reading experience with a novel or story? Now, there are actually many tropes that I would consider I dislike, but one of the things that not many people talk about, I think, and I'm not even sure if there is actually a formal name for this, is you know how when you read a book or a story or a chapter, and that writing starts with a pronoun, okay? It starts with a pronoun, he or she or they or whatever, and the narrator proceeds to describe what he is doing. He is so-and-so, he is so-and-so, he's doing this, he's feeling that, this happens to him, and it's just the pronoun all the way until, I don't know, halfway or perhaps at the end of the chapter, very unlikely end of the book. But yeah, you know what I mean, when the narrator just talks about a particular character with the intention of kind of hiding from us who that character is, but showing us what the character is doing in this way that is kind of suggesting some kind of mysteriousness, and I suppose that the narrator wants to do that so that, you know, we would feel kind of you know, we would want to stick around just to find out who this character is. Well, that is not something that is going to work for me, because I want to know who that character is. Because I think that in a story, in a novel, in a chapter, what's more important is the story, the idea inside the chapter. I don't want to occupy myself with thinking about or wondering about who this character is. That is not part of the allure of a narrative for me. So I don't really like it when writers do that. So another thing I just kind of remembered, because I'm also reading a book that does this, and it's and it usually concerns book that that involves a I would say non-Anglophone culture or non-Western culture. Basically, there is this tendency to kind of romanticize things. Some writers would end up doing that. One of the things I don't really like is that when something foreign comes up and the term is italicized, I don't mind this being italicized. That's a political discussion for another time, but I don't like it when an italicized term, or not italicized, a foreign term comes out and there is an explanation coming after it. Like if there is a term for a particularly for a kind of like a traditional garment or traditional hat that most people would probably not know about, that has a foreign name to it, and then suddenly there's an explanation that comes after that explains, oh, that's a hat, that's a shirt. I don't like that because it really interrupts the flow of the narrative. So that's another thing that I just don't like. Okay, the third and fourth question, I think I'm going to tackle them together. What most appeals to you when reading nonfiction and makes you want to keep reading? And the fourth question, what is a convention or trope in nonfiction that will turn you off in your reading experience? Now, the reason why I want to tackle these two together is because I don't think that I'm a mature nonfiction reader. I have not really explored the full extent of nonfiction. Not that I say that I have explored the full realm of fiction, but I think I'm more in-depth when it comes to fiction than nonfiction. So I'm just gonna answer this question based on my expectation, what I expect I want from nonfiction. So basically, I kind of like nonfiction that has some kind of story to it, that is able to kind of write a certain topic and makes it into some sort of creative writing that is not dry, that is not just simply describing the subject, but turns it into some sort of story and plays with the language. And I think language is really important to me. The fact that writers play with languages, that's really important. So I like it when, if and when the writers do that in nonfiction. What I don't want to see in nonfiction, and I think this is kind of, I was scarred by past experience, is that I don't really like this sudden appearance of a random tract or a filibuster in a nonfiction, especially when it comes to religious filibuster. I don't really like it also when I'm reading an article or a chapter or a book about a certain topic, say for example scientific topic, and then there is a conclusion that is where you see some sort of opinion, a religious opinion being shoehorned there, telling us that we have to be grateful about the science to God. So it's weird. That happened to me in the past. So yeah, I've seen writing like that, so it's just weird. So the next question, 5, would you say you read more for pleasure and enjoyment or more to learn and exercise your brain? For pleasure. Yes, for pleasure. Anything that I learn and chance to exercise my brain, those come as bonus, but mostly for fun and pleasure. My reading is very hedonistic. I'm totally a libertine when it comes to reading. Which type of books, this is the next question, which type of books are you likely to rate more highly and enjoy more overall? Brain candy, pleasure / enjoyment, books or brain protein, learning / exercise books. Now again, based on number 5, I read mostly for pleasure, even for books that are considered as typical brain protein. If I don't enjoy it, then I would not rate it very highly. If a book is a brain candy, but if I still don't enjoy it, I would still not rate it very highly. I think it comes to how I view the books. I think I like it and this is what I notice with books that I rate very highly, is that I like books that kind of combine both of these two things. So they're like candy and also they're like protein at the same time. I don't know, kind of like a the Chinese meat jerky for the brain. So it's kind of like a candy-ish snack, but it's also protein based. Yeah, that is my favorite kind of books. And what I usually learn from those kind of books is not exactly the stuff about the world, but mostly stuff about myself. Like I read about a book that I really love with the characters who I can just really empathize with, and there is something about myself that I find with that character, and it's not just something good that I find, it's also something horrible. So it's kind of like a harsh realization that you have when you read books like that, but it does make you learn more about yourself. So yeah, I consider that as expanding my knowledge, my knowledge about myself, know yourself. So number 7, do you have a sense early on of whether or not the book you're reading will be a 5-star read or a book you will really like? Has a book ever surprised you in this regard? Yes, of course. Some of the examples I can think of. Fear Flying by Erica Jong was something that I've always been wanting to read, and then when I read it, I enjoyed it very much. I really related with the character, the main character, even though she is I think she's a woman in her 30s or 40s, and she's married, Yeah, she's a white woman in the 1970s, I think, or the 60s. I can't remember. But yes, I can't say I identify with the main character, but yes, there are certain traits that I feel like I can understand that the main character exhibits in that book, and I really enjoyed that book. Everything about that book was just so perfectly me. I wouldn't say the book was perfect, but it was perfectly me. Another book was Like Water for Chocolate. This was mainly because the title was just so intriguing, and then when I read it, I was like, okay, yeah, I like this one. It's a nice book. It has a character that you know, gets her shower on fire after eating some magical food. So yeah, it's a great book. I really like books that have that kinds of stuff in it. And also the Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver. That book was also something that I really wanted to read for a long time, and then finally when I read it, even though it was fairly long, I just enjoyed every single page of that book because it was just so amazing. I was also surprised in a rather opposite fashion, books that I thought that I would like but turned out I did not like. And I did mention White Teeth by Zadie Smith early in this video. Yes, I expected that I would like that book, that I would give 5 stars to it, or at least 4 stars, but I ended up DNF that book because that book was just too messy for me, too loud, not very compassionate, super judgy, and it was just not the book for me. It was really, really intelligent, really, really smart, but then again, smart books aren't exactly my thing, you know. I don't care about being intelligent. Whatever. Number 8. Considering books that you've rated 5 stars in the past, or if you don't rate them, then books you really loved, do you think you would feel the same way about them now? Why or why not? You know, this kind of moment happened to me before. Last year, I started using Goodreads, and I was crazy about rating the books that I've read. And I was really crazy about giving stars to all the books. And I actually gave 5 stars to many books. And now that I think about it, yes, I was being a little bit too generous, because I have discovered books that were super, super brilliant. And I just thought that the books that I gave 5 stars to at that time just did not measure up to that level of brilliance. And I wish I could kind of revise my rating, but then it would be too much work, so some of those 5 stars remain. But I did kind of revise the rating that I gave to Catherine Stockett's The Help. I gave it 5 stars initially, even though I realized that that book was not perfect. I had that sense early on when after I read that book. I gave it 5 stars, but then I realized to just dock 1 star because I just thought that there were parts in that book just was a little bit flawed, in my opinion, and just couldn't compare with some of my most recent 5-star reads. Yeah, incidentally, that book, I had a video for that book, and it was like one of the most viewed videos that I have, which is kind of strange. I know that it's a fairly popular book, but I don't think that that video was really good. So, another book that for this question was The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner. I gave it 5 stars at the time because I don't know why, because I just kind of enjoyed it. I thought that it was really dramatic. I thought that the story was like, it's like a soap opera, you know. Even, you know, despite the writing, despite the language used in that book, it's just full of drama, and I love that kind of stuff. But then, now that I think about that book, I thought it was probably, right now, current me would probably consider that book to be a 4-star book. But I did not revise that rating because, yeah, again, It's a small thing. So yeah, those are my answers for each of these questions. The last one would be to tag people, and so I am just going to tag Shannon from That Sopo and also Isa from Bibilomam. So thanks for watching, and thanks for keeping me company on my good hair day, and I'll see you again in a different one. I expect to have a nice weekend. Tomorrow is a Saturday. Yeah. So I'll take care. Take care, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.